Great day, Mountain Care friends. Hope that you are all doing well and staying healthy. We miss seeing you terribly in person, but we thought maybe we'd try some of these little videos to reach out and say hey to you guys, and hopefully it brings a little something fun to your day. So I thought I would try a version of morning highlights. To be honest, it's not morning anymore when I'm recording this, and maybe you're watching it in the evening. So it could be evening highlights. But I thought I'd give it a try. Today is Tuesday, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo day. It's been a beautiful day here in the Asheville area. Some clouds coming in, but still really warm. I think we have a high predicted of about 68 or 70 with a low of around 48. But get ready, because I'm hearing through the weather channel that it's going to get a lot colder the next few days. So temperatures may be down into the lower 30s by like Friday, Saturday night. So if you already have some plants out, some flowers or some vegetables, you might want to think about covering them up to keep the frost off of them. But I thought maybe we would attempt this morning / afternoon / evening highlights and see where we get. So I'm going to do a little bit of some fun days of the week, some historical events and facts, and maybe throw in a couple of fun stories and see how we do. So I'm going to start with some of the days of the week. Now, again, I mentioned today is Tuesday, but I like to go back to yesterday, May the 4th, which is a day that Star Wars fans love. May the 4th be with you. Get it? May the 4th, may the Force be with you. Okay, you got it. Yesterday was also Petite and Proud Day. Now, that made me think of my friend Susan at MountainCare. It was also Firefighters Day yesterday. I'm not sure if we have any participants who might be firemen or firewomen in their careers, or maybe you know somebody in your family that's a firefighter. We actually have a nephew who is a fireman. So a thank you to those folks. As I mentioned earlier, today is May the 5th, so Cinco de Mayo Day, which I think is ironic that happens to fall on Tuesday, because, you know, tacos and Tuesday sort of go together. So you can guess what we're having at our house for dinner tonight. It's also Teacher Appreciation Day. So I'd like to give a big round of applause to our teachers at MountainCare. Thank you for those of you who are taught so many kids, and a great thank you to the teachers today who are working diligently to keep teaching our kids during these unprecedented times of school being closed, and yet they're still having to get their lessons out there. So huge thank you to those teachers. It's also Hoagie Day. Okay, what's a hoagie? Yes, you know what a hoagie is, like a submarine sandwich, which sounds delicious and something that I would like to make. But I have news for my Southerners. You know, I've read that the true definition of a real hoagie sandwich does not have mayonnaise on it. Now, I know you Southerners are crying because in the South you can't eat something unless it has mayonnaise or butter on it. Am I right? But a true hoagie, no mayonnaise. Now, tomorrow is a day I thought was funny, No Diet Day. Which, if you're like me, you're like, whoever wants to diet? But what's the reason for tomorrow being No Diet Day? Well, we're not quite, but we're close to halfway through the year. So the thinking is that if you are a person who made a New Year's resolution to diet and you've made it almost halfway through the year, then you deserve a little reward. So toss out the old scales, maybe cook up a little something you love, and you eat a little reward. Also I want to mention one more thing. So May the 6th, which will be tomorrow, through the 12th, is National Nurses Week. So again, a huge round of applause, not only for our MountainCare staff nurses and MountainCare participant nurses, but to those nurses that are working today, so hard to take care of folks who are ill, and we just appreciate all of their hard work. All right, next I'm going to move on to maybe some events in history that happened throughout this week. Again, who knows what day you might be watching this, so bear with me. I'm going to try to stick within 4 or 5 days of time to give you some things historically speaking. On May the 1st, 1931, the Empire State Building was first dedicated. All right, by a show of hands, How many of you have been to the Empire State Building? Put your hands up. Just because you're out there and I can't see you doesn't mean you put show of hands. All right, if you've been to the Empire State Building. I'm going to guess it's a good many of us, I think. This May the 1st, 1941 was the release of the movie Citizen Kane. I'm going to guess that maybe a lot of you have seen that movie as well. May the 2nd, 1933 was the very first time that the Loch Ness Monster was sighted. Any of you ever seen the Loch Ness Monster? Wow, that would be super cool to hear if you did. Save that story for another time when we're together if you do. May the 2nd, 1918, General Motors bought Chevrolet. And May the 2nd, 1945, German troops surrendered to the Allies in Italy. All right, moving ahead to May the 3rd. May the 3rd, 1933, the King of Funk, James Brown, was born. Also, May 3rd, 1951, congressional hearings on General MacArthur began. And May the 3rd, 1952, a gentleman named Joseph Fletcher landed the very first aircraft on the North Pole. Sounds cold. Wait a minute, he can't be the first one. What about Santa? Anyway, May the 4th, 1776, Rhode Island became the very first colony to declare independence from England. Do we have anybody here from Rhode Island? Again, sounds cold. We Southerners, that just sounds like cold weather up in Rhode Island. May the 4th, 1926, a beautiful actress was born named Audrey Hepburn. Now, I'm certain many of you have seen loads of her movies, things like Roman Holiday, My Fair Lady, Breakfast at Tiffany's. So it's just, I've always really liked Audrey Hepburn, a beautiful, beautiful lady. May the 4th, 1965, a gentleman named Willie Mays broke the National League's home run record, beating out the current record holder, who was Mel Otts. Sam, I was thinking about you when I was giving that baseball statistic, you and Bob. And also May 4th, 1976, Margaret Thatcher was sworn in as the very first female prime minister in Britain. I'm going to end with historical events, or in the historical events section, with today, May the 5th. And on May the 5th, 1961, Alan Shepard became the very first American to go into space. That was a huge step for the Americans. In the year May the 5th, the year 2002, the movie Spider-Man became the very first movie to top $100 million in its opening weekend. Can you imagine that? $100 million between a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? It's amazing. All right, that wraps up our historical things. Let me flip my page of information and at least give you a couple of fun stories. I know that if you're like me, you're trying to temper the amount of news that you get these days. So one of the things that myself and Lauren for sure always like to do is we refer to a website called the Good News Network, and they have for a long time always worked to post fun, uplifting, interesting, positive stories. So there's a few good news stories that I'd like to share with you. One that I think is super cool is, have you heard this guy? I'm embarrassed that I've forgotten his name, but it's a British gentleman, and he, in celebration of his 100th birthday, he decided that he wanted to try to raise money for Britain's National Health Service here during this pandemic. So his goal was like $1,200, and what he was going to do was walk 100 laps around his garden. I'm not really sure how far that was, but he wanted to do 100 laps before his 100th birthday. Well, he did succeed in doing the laps, and he greatly surpassed his fundraising goal of $1,200. And the last count, he was over $30 million he had raised. Just people all over the world had begun to hear about it and donate money. So I thought this is a really cool story. But even better, not only did he exceed his goal, but he's gotten so much really cool praise, I think. So one of the things is he's been given an honorary promotion from captain, which is what he was in the military, to a colonel. Another interesting thing they did was they they had some World War II era Spitfire aircraft that did a flyover over his house as a way to honor him for the way that he raised all that money. And then the last thing that I thought was really fun, and I so wish I had a picture of this to show you. The world caught wind that it was his 100th birthday, and many people decided that they were going to send him birthday cards. He has received over 125,000 birthday cards. The picture I wish I could show you was this building that's holding all of these cards. It's just enormous. I can't even imagine how the man will ever look at 125,000 birthday cards, but super cool, positive, fun story, I thought. Another one I think that's a little bit along the funny lines is, with this whole virus thing going on, and if you've been fortunate enough to stay away from the grocery store, then you're not seeing the fascinating. I think the grocery store is so fascinating these days because there's so many products that people are really just snatching off the shelves, and two of them in particular are hand sanitizer and toilet paper. So there was a guy that I read about in Southwest England. He owns an amusement arcade, and what he decided to do was, there's a machine at an amusement arcade where it's called I don't know if it's called a toy grabber, but that's what I call it. It has like this giant crane, and you put a quarter in, you operate the crane, and usually you drop it down and you try to grab. Normally it's a stuffed animal, and see if you can grab hold of it and pull out, and then it drops it out of a chute for you. Well, instead of putting stuffed animals in there, he put in toilet paper and hand sanitizer, because that's what everybody's wanting these days. So much for the stuffed animals. I guess your kid's probably not real excited about that, though. What? You got me toilet paper, Mom? Ugh. But hey, you'll be thankful for it later. Lastly, one other little positive story that I liked, and this made me think of my friend Susan and some other folks who are always sharing jokes with me with us at MountainCare. And that was a cool story about a young boy, I think 6-year-old boy, forgotten what part of the United States, that he was really looking forward to having a lemonade stand. But now with all that's going on, his parents decided that wasn't the best idea, so he decided to set up a joke stand. So I think his parents had given him a joke book, and obviously he had told all of his jokes to his parents. They were probably sick of hearing him say them. So he set up a little stand outside, and so that as people would come by, he would tell them a joke. And it was so precious because he said he wasn't going to charge anything for the jokes because he really knew that people needed to keep their money right now to pay for groceries and things like that, which I thought was super sweet. So I'm going to end that then with a couple of jokes in honor of some of my good joke tellers at MountainCare. I know I won't be able to do it as good as Susan will, but you guys will bear with me. All right. Why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants? In case he got a hole in one. Why was the pony sent to his room? He was caught horsing around. And lastly, what do you call a bear with no ears? It doesn't matter. He's not going to come when you call him anyway. All right, on that note, you guys have a great day. Love you all, and see you next time.